We have two really important things to celebrate today. We, of course, are celebrating Christmas. That's a pretty big holiday to celebrate. We're also celebrating the 100th episode of Verdict with Ted Cruz. And to celebrate, we're going to be giving away a bunch of stuff. This is Verdict with Ted Cruz.
Today's very special Christmas episode of Verdict with Ted Cruz is sponsored by American Hartford Gold. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed everything is getting expensive. We are in the biggest economic crisis since 2008, with a government that's printing trillions and trillions of dollars. Consumer prices are the highest we've seen in 30 years. Inflation is certainly here to stay. And if the government continues its out-of-control printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world reserve currency. So how do you protect your money, your retirement, your savings? Well, American Hartford Gold can show you how to hedge your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. They'll even help move your existing IRA or 401k out of the volatile stock market into a precious metals IRA. And they make it easy. They are the highest-rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. And if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 of free silver on your first qualifying order. So don't wait. Call them now. Call 855-768-1883. That's 855-768-1883. Or text CACTUS to 65532. Again, that's 855-768-1883 or text CACTUS to 65532. Verdict with Ted Cruz is also sponsored today by Stamps.com. If you're looking for ways to skip the trip to the post office and dodge all that hectic holiday shopping traffic, why not save time and money with Stamps.com? Stamps.com lets you compare rates, print labels, and access exclusive discounts on UPS and USPS services all year long. Here at Soundfront, we use Stamps.com to send you merch like that sweet, sweet cactus hat, to do business on the road and to save time and money. It just makes sense, especially if your business sends more mail and packages during the holidays. Whether you're selling online or running an office or a side hustle, Stamps.com can save you so much time, money, and stress during the holidays. And you get discounts on post office and UPS shipping services without making the trip. Discounts you can't find anywhere else, like up to 40% off USPS rates and 76% off UPS. Honestly, going to the post office instead of using Stamps.com is kind of like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. So if you spend more than a few minutes a week dealing with mail and shipping, Stamps.com is a lifesaver. Save time and money this holiday season with Stamps.com. Sign up with promo code VERDICT for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code VERDICT. Verdict with Ted Cruz is also brought to you by AMAC. Did you know there's a conservative advocacy and benefits organization with more than 2 million members and counting? It's called AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens. AMAC has become one of the most impactful conservative organizations in America. Joining AMAC gives you access to money-saving benefits, cutting-edge news, and a magazine full of insightful takes on today's most important issues. But most importantly, AMAC is working tirelessly to preserve the freedom secured by our Constitution. With a full-time presence on Capitol Hill, AMAC is pushing back against the effort to defund our police, weaken our borders, and replace your freedom with government controls. So stand with me and over 2 million patriots by joining right now at amac.us/cactus. That's amac.us/cactus. The benefits are great, but the cause is greater. So join today at amac.us/cactus. That's amac.us/cactus. Do it. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to Verdict with Ted Cruz, where there are so many ads. When did that happen? When did we start getting, I guess it's good that we're getting these ads so that we can keep this show on the air, free, available to so many people. But Liz, please tell me there is some way to avoid all of the ads.
Well, there certainly is, Michael. If you just head right on over to verdictwithtedcruz.com/plus and become a Verdict Plus subscriber, then you can watch this entire episode free from the terrible ads, free from these advertisements, all the way through, straight through. Verdictwithtedcruz.com/plus.
Well, that's wonderful. Grateful to you, the listeners, grateful to Verdict Plus, and grateful to our advertisers as well, who allow us to remain on the air. Senator, congratulations on 100 episodes.
That is crazy. When we sat down January, almost 2 years ago, and in the basement and did it at what, 1, 2 in the morning
Every night.
every night. And the first time we did it, we had this shag carpet. We had this chair. I mean, the chair and the carpet are veterans of 100 episodes. And listen, I've been upstaged by a cactus, but for a shag carpet to kick your ass, that is a little much. But I mean, I remember that first night, there was a lot of skepticism. Skepticism from one young Michael Knowles, skepticism from our producers, skepticism from almost anyone sentient with a discernible sense of judgment, like, how is this going to work? Is this going to work? And then we rocketed up the charts, and within weeks, we're the #1 podcast in the world.
So I admit I was skeptical at the very beginning. I have great admiration for you, Senator. I have voted for you, but I was a little skeptical that you were going to beat Joe Rogan on the podcast charts. And yet, after just a week, I guess, on the air, the show hit #1. Obviously, it's been going for 2 years, and that is now it's a very popular thing to do. A lot of politicians have podcasts. It had never been done in a popular way before, and so I am thrilled, and I'm sorry for forever doubting that you would become one of the biggest broadcasters in America.
Well, look, I will say this. One of the things I get great joy from is Verdict has more viewers than CNN's morning show. Like in some ways, that's such an incredibly low bar that's like saying, okay, we exceed 3. But it is really an amazing sort of commentary on the shift of media and discussion. It used to be that the big 3, you had ABC, CBS, NBC back when. All right, Michael, I bet do you remember television sets that had knobs that turned? Or was that before your time?
I do, but only because I grew up kind of poor. That's the only reason I remember it, but they were basically extinct by the time I was a kid.
When I was a kid, we had remote control and they called it kids. As in, you yell at the kid, go change the station. And I did. Look, I wasn't growing up in, Ward Beaver 1950s, but, walked uphill, uphill both ways.
Snowing both ways, yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thrilled that we've hit #100, and I love the coincidence that we are celebrating this as we were getting ready to celebrate Christmas. Although there was a story that Liz turned me on to, that apparently, there are all these wars on Christmas, and sometimes the wars are being waged by the liberals, and sometimes they're being waged by the Puritans, and sometimes people attack Christmas for a whole lot of reasons. Apparently, BLM is attacking Christmas and specifically calling for a boycott of the song White Christmas, because obviously that is a white supremacist anthem. Liz, do I have that right?
No, you do not have that right, but don't worry, I'm here to correct the record on it. They are calling for a boycott of a white Christmas, meaning they don't want anybody to purchase any Christmas gifts from white-owned businesses or to bank with any banks that are owned by white people. They only want...
That's even worse. That's even worse than boycotting the song.
Although, it's so much worse. Although the song is a beautiful song. No, they said that they're dreaming, and this is a play on the song, they're dreaming of a black Christmas because they want black people in our country to only solely, exclusively buy from black-owned businesses, because they say that white supremacist capitalism is a problem in our nation. I'm not exactly sure what the tie-in there. I don't know how you can tie those 3 things together, but that's the beauty of Black Lives Matter. They can invent connections to try to take down the institutions of our country everywhere. So yes, they are attacking Christmas.
So it really is amazing that Bing Crosby is now controversial. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Bing, did you enter the room? Where did I thought he was long gone. I can't. Oh no, that was you, Senator.
Of course, the terror of it is it's a white Christmas because friggin' snow is white. It's not a racial thing. It's when you freeze water and it condenses in the air, it turns into snowflakes. It's not blue. It's not pink. It's not purple. It just happens to be white. And now that is, who knew that snow had racial overtones? By the way, I just want to say right now, it's not fair that the Grinch is green. What about green people? What do they have against green people?
Fair enough.
And it really is...
Well, you are noticing this strange phenomenon now, and it's not just BLM calling for a boycott of white businesses, but you're seeing from other major retailers or aggregators, black and white-owned businesses being treated differently. I remember during the BLM riots, I think it was Uber Eats was treating black-owned businesses, whatever that means, by the way.
Yep.
It's not as though businesses are only owned by a single individual a lot of the time, but they were treating them differently, giving different incentives. Is that sort of thing even legal?
So it's not, and it is explicitly discriminating based on race. And the sad reality is leftists have always been racist. They've always embraced racial discrimination. You know, Black Lives Matter is a racist organization. And one of the ironies, we did one of the earlier verdicts, we did a whole pod on the history of the organization Black Lives Matter, founded by explicit and avowed communists and supported by woke corporations. So Microsoft, I forget the stats. We went through the stats, and Microsoft had given, I don't know, $100,000, $250,000. Amazon had given $150,000 or $250,000. I forget the amount. Of course, you know, Microsoft, Bill Gates ain't a black guy. Jeff Bezos ain't a black guy. They're literally funding an organization calling on you to boycott their own business. So Jeff Bezos is cutting a check to an organization saying, don't you order your Christmas presents on Amazon. Do not do that. But like the woke consciousness is really asinine.
All right, guys, way to keep it light and cheery for Christmas. This is the Christmas episode. We're supposed to be spreading joy all over the world. In fact, that's kind of what this episode is about today. We have some Christmas gifts, if you will, in honor of both, you know, Christmas and of the 100th episode of Verdict. And I want to talk about those a little right now because they're really fun. So if you join Verdict Plus as a member, now I want to be very clear here. If you join Verdict Plus as a member, that's completely free. You don't have to give your credit card information. That's a non-paid way to join this insider community. It's verdictwithtedcruz.com/plus. If you join, it's completely free. And if we reach 15,000 members on Verdict Plus by January 21st, January 21st is a very special day because that is the inaugural episode, the anniversary of the inaugural episode of Verdict. 15,000 members on Verdict Plus by January 21st, then we will randomly select one member to come to a live taping of Verdict. This is just one of many Christmas presents here on our 100th episode. And by the way, because today is the 100th episode and January 21st, a little bit different date, is the anniversary of the inaugural episode. We will be announcing the winner of that on our January 21st episode. So go to verdictwithtedcruz.com/plus. Let's get to 15,000 members so one of you can come to a live taping of Verdict. Michael, this is the Christmas spirit.
All right, well, Liz, let me ask you a couple of clarifications. Number one, 15,000. How close are we now, Liz? Where are we right now?
We're about to hit the 10,000 mark. Well, I mean, we can do it. We can definitely do this.
All right, so 15,000. We're in shooting range of 15,000, and the lucky winner who gets to come to a taping of Verdict Live. Are we going to tell them, all right, you got to buy your own plane ticket, you got to pony up the cash, you got to fly to where it is, or is this an even? It gets better, as they say on the Romco ads.
What kind of Christmas gift would it be if we said, you're the winner, but you got to pay us for your Christmas present? No, this is a Christmas present in all its glory. We will bring you to a live taping at no expense to you. This is the real deal. This is a really fun thing. People who are part of the Verdict Plus community, I mean, they follow Verdict to a T. These are people who are really into what we're talking about and what the goal of this podcast is. And this is just a little way of giving back. These people are, true blues. These people are fans of the show. And it's going to be really exciting to meet one of y'all in person.
And Michael, I got to ask a question. So if the winner comes and happens, say, to want to recite Dante in the original Italian, are you able to join them in that?
Well, I hope so. Fortunately, the last verdict listener who came up and just began reciting Dante in Italian, fortunately, he knew one fewer line than I did. But the next one, who knows? We have an eclectic intellectual group that listens to the show. And, I take Liz's correction in a proper spirit. It's true. This is Christmas time. I don't want to focus on the rioters and the pagans and all the negative stuff. This is a great time to celebrate a great 100th episode. So shall we get to some mailbag questions from the viewers who may very well be flying out to see us live?
Absolutely. We have some very interesting questions. Michael, I feel like there's a question that puts you and I on the spot in front of the senator here. So let's start with that one because that sounds fun. This is from Paul over on Verdict Plus. Of course, these questions are all from Verdict Plus subscribers. He says, for Liz and Michael, have you decided how to approach Santa with your kids?
Yes, I am very pro-Santa. I'm on Team Santa. I'm so pro-Santa that I'm not only going to teach about the jolly old elf St. Nicholas who comes down the chimney with toys. I'm going to teach about St. Nicholas, the bishop, who, according to legend at the Council of Nicaea, punched the heretic Arius in the face because he was so sick of hearing his heresy and wanted to shake the man back to his senses. Now, the story itself may not have actually occurred, but I love the legend of Santa Claus showing up to give presents to kids and punch heretics when he just ran out of presents.
Yes, that won't be confusing at all to your child, the reality and the fantasy. My favorite legend, by the way, before we even get into this, the real Saint Nick, do you know the reason why we decorate our Christmas tree with like gold balls, gold ornaments? Because there was a man, an impoverished man in St. Nicholas's town who had 3 daughters. He was unable to pay for their dowry, so they were going to remain unmarried. But he was so impoverished that he couldn't pay for their food. He couldn't sustain them because they were going to be unmarried. He was going to have to sell them into sex slavery, into prostitution. Saint Nicholas threw 3 bags of gold through his window, landed on their shoes and stockings on the hearth, and that's where the tradition not only of shoes and stockings on the hearth, but also why we decorate our Christmas trees with gold balls. That's what I'm going to teach Lady Baby. That is the most badass story, the coolest. I mean, that is cooler than a fat elf coming down the chimney, right?
So we're talking about insurrectionists and rioters and pagans and now sex slavery. Senator, what was your approach with your daughters when it comes to Santa Claus?
Yeah, I got to say, you guys are really keeping it light and cheery. You've got Saint Nick the Brawler, like punching some heretic or something. I didn't quite follow it. And then you've got the like rescued from sex slavery by flinging bags of gold. I'm feeling very historically illiterate because I confess I know nothing about either one of those stories. But I will, I can go a little bit lighter. So we did Santa with our girls. They're now 11 and 13. I'm pretty sure they are beyond the Santa stage at this point. But I used to, Heidi would have me, so every Christmas Eve after the girls went to bed, she'd send me outside and we have these bells. And I'd like go outside their windows and ring the bells to be the bells on Santa's sleigh landing on the roof. And it was just enough that they could hear it and be excited. Never really worked. I did it every year, but it didn't quite have the effect that we envisioned. We also own a Santa suit. I've never dressed in the Santa suit. We put my dad in the Santa suit, so that's a grandfatherly task. And just to give you a sense of where it goes, we're now post Santa. There was not some big reveal. There was no year where it's like, aha! It just sort of faded as they got older. But now both girls put together a PowerPoint of what they want for Christmas that they present to us with rankings and why they want it. And they stand and do a presentation. Here's why it's a good idea. Here's why this makes sense. And here's a link to the specific one I want. And so they like send you the Amazon link for their presents. Both girls do the presentation now every year before Christmas.
It sounds like they're a chip off the old block.
You and Heidi have taught them well. That's impressive.
So I used to, when I was 8 years old, Liz, so I would type up my Christmas list on my parents' IBM Selectric typewriter, because I'd go over to their office where they had a small business, and I would type up a Christmas list and rank things, and I would rank them 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars just with asterisks because, that's all you had. And, I would have different things I wanted. I wanted a TV set. I wanted a stereo. I wanted a shotgun. I had all these different things that I specified. And one of the funnier things I specified, I guess this was after 8, this is probably like 11, where I had been working for several years in my parents' small business. And my parents had a rule that I had to save 50% of what I earned. That I could only spend half of it, that I had to save half of it. And so I had been working, they were paying me $1 an hour. And the first thing I bought was a York's stereo. It was $137. And what I remembered is that it had all 4 media. It had a record player, it had a radio, it had a cassette, and it had an 8-track. And I bought it. It was 137 hours, but it was times 2 because I could only spend half of it. And as my savings added up, because I started working,
Right.
I mean, they hired me when I was 8, and as my savings added up, I had, $800-900 in savings, and I bought gold with it. I bought a gold Krugerrand, the South African money. Look, one of our sponsors sells gold, so there you go. I was on point with our sponsors when I was a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid. But that next year on the Christmas list, like number 9 on the list of what I wanted was some Krugerrands. And my mother to this day still finds hysterical the adjective some. Just, throw some gold coins my way. Like what kind of 11-year-old asked for some Krugerrands? But I'm like, I bought one. Why? I did not get some or any Krugerrands for Christmas. And even more funny, it was like 2 stars. It wasn't nearly as cool as like a TV or whatever else I was asking for that year.
This is the left's caricature of what 11-year-old Ted Cruz was doing. Little 11-year-old Ted Cruz investing in gold. The conservative's conservative from a young age.
I mean, it's hard to even know how to respond to this story. It's such a delightful mix of hilarious and nerdy. It does sound like your daughters are a chip off the old block, though. I mean, they're ranking their Christmas presents, arguing in front of you. What could basically set them up for better present success on Christmas morning? I honestly don't know if there is anything. However, in the spirit of Christmas, we do have more gifts for our wonderful Verdict fans. This time, head over to YouTube. 15 people picked at random who leave comments on this episode, that is episode 100, will get a free box of signed merch from the Verdict merch store. The only thing that I regret to inform you is that it won't contain gold coins. Other than that, it will contain really cool merch signed by yours truly, by Michael, by Senator Cruz. 15 random people who leave comments on this episode, episode 100, will get a free box of signed merch from the Verdict merch store shop, that is. Of course, the URL, if you want to see what is in the merch shop, you can go to verdictwithtedcruz.com/shop. That's pretty cool, Michael.
That's extremely cool.
So Liz, let me ask, let's go under the hood. So YouTube, we have about 210,000 subscribers on YouTube. Which means I also have in my office the really cool, like silver, album thing. I don't know what you call it, but the thing they get you when you get 100,000 subscribers. So we've got 210,000.
The silver play button. That's a big deal for the YouTuber community.
The silver play button, and there's, what's the million one? What is it? Gold?
Gold. You get the gold.
All right, so we got to get to the gold. We're 210,000, so we'll get there, but we're not there yet.
You can put that on your Christmas list this year.
There we go. Now that's number 1 on my Christmas list. But I guess the comments feed the algorithm. So, you've got a bunch of commie leftists in Silicon Valley that if they had their way, we would have 0 viewers. But when you comment, somehow they're mildly obliged, more people see it, it spreads it, and I don't understand. The pixie dust from Santa's elves cause more people to watch Verdict. So make your comments and say things that are interesting and fun, and 15 of you will get merch signed by us.
Exactly. So you're both fighting back against big tech, making sure that we make the most of the algorithms that we face, and you get merch from Verdict. What could make for a better Christmas than that? Again, our YouTube channel is Verdict with Ted Cruz. Head on over there. Be one of the 15 people. I mean, that's a pretty good odd there. All right, are you ready for the next question? The next question is about family tradition. So obviously, Senator, it's a tradition in your family to rank the Christmas presents to give them ratings. But Real Truth Cactus wants to know, and she says, this is for everyone, what is your family's favorite Christmas tradition or memory? And so, Senator, let's start with you.
You know, to be honest, my favorite thing about Christmas is just being with family. It's like Thanksgiving, Christmas are my two favorite holidays because we get our whole extended family together. When I was a kid, we'd drive up to Dallas, and my grandparents, my abuelo and abuela, they lived up in Dallas, and they lived with my tia Sonia, my father's kid sister. And my cousin Bibi, who's tia Sonia's daughter, she lived up there. Bibi's 5 years older than I am, and we were like brother and sister. And we would all get together, and you got a big Cuban household, and we'd have food, and there'd be lots of yelling. I've joked, if a Cuban can't yell, can they speak? And I think the answer is no. Like there's no way. If you had like 8 or 10 Cuban men in a room, they're all screaming in Spanish at the top of their lungs because apparently they can't modulate volume. We play dominoes every Christmas. The dominoes games are vigorous. They're in your face. They're competitive. My father will always get out the Bible at the Christmas table and read the story of Christ's birth. And, that's, I've done that on the couple of times my dad hasn't been at our house. But to be honest, again, look, even though I turn 51 in a week, dad is still dad. And so that's his responsibility. We also do a lot of movies. So ours is a movie-going household. Verdict listeners know that I'm a movie buff. But I got it, honestly. I got it from my parents. Both my parents love movies. My dad actually learned English when he came from Cuba in 1957, and he came to Austin. He was a freshman at UT, and he couldn't speak English. He had gotten in, but he had this enormous incentive to learn English because his classes were in English. And if he didn't learn English quickly, he would flunk out of UT. And if he flunked out of UT, they would cancel his student visa. And if they canceled his student visa, they'd send him back to Cuba. And if he went back to Cuba, they'd kill him. So he had this intense incentive, learn English quick so you don't flunk out of school. And one of the things he used to do, so he'd do two things. Number one, he took Spanish 101, and he reverse engineered it. So when the professor said, milk is leche, he'd go, oh, leche is milk. And he'd just try to do everything backwards and see if he could learn. But the other thing he would do is he'd go to the movies, and he'd see the same movie 3 times in a row. And the human brain is amazing. So the first, few times he did it, he didn't understand any of it. But you start seeing how people interact and the context and the cues. And so he loves movies. So over Christmas break, I'll see several movies. I like the theater. I like being, in the sound, and I get popcorn and candy and hot dogs and take the kids. And so movies, dominoes, and playing my nephew Diego one-on-one hoops. And we play vigorous, aggressive, brutal, fouling, bloody, bruising, taunting hoops, much like our dominoes games. Our dominoes games are taunting. Our hoops games are taunting. It is a family with a lot of fun and a lot of good-natured grief all around.
It sounds amazing. I mean, I can almost feel the atmosphere being there. And I think you said it correctly. I mean, not to sound cheesy, not to sound trite. It is about being with family and all of the little quirks and idiosyncrasies of being with the ones that you love. Michael, what does your family do? What is your favorite memory, either current or past?
I'll give you a great memory. I mean, we have a zillion traditions and memories around Christmas. Christmas, very important. Not just for the Catholics, but specifically the Italian Catholics. They make a big deal, especially about Christmas Eve. So there was one year, give you a sense of how politically incorrect my family is. There was one year I really wanted for Christmas a sitar. Like the big Indian instrument, I don't know, I heard George Harrison played it or something. So I really wanted a sitar. We found it at some hippie shop, way down in southern New Jersey. My mother knew I really wanted it. We didn't have a ton of money, but my grandmother agreed to buy it if my mother would drive down 4.5 hours, pick it up, drive back 4.5 hours, bring it to her. I had no clue that this was happening at all, and it's in my grandmother's house. We go there, huge meal, lots of people, all screaming Italians, as is often the case. In an Italian household, younger people drink a little bit of wine at Christmas. So there's 13, 14-year-old Michael. I'm having, a glass or two of wine. I'm just feeling great. And my grandmother emerges, my little Sicilian grandmother emerges wearing a full Indian sari that she had picked up on a trip in the 70s. She's got a dot in the middle of her head. She would be canceled if there were photos of this incident, and presents me with this sitar. We would all be canceled if there were any evidence of this. But it did really bring together so many aspects. The wild family, everyone being together, even the gifts, that there was so much thought put into this gift. And of course, I got a real kick out of the abject political correctness. That's something about those conservative Italian families.
So do you still have the sitar, and can you play it on the podcast?
I absolutely have the sitar. I actually just ordered strings for it, Senator, and maybe that's going to be the 200th episode spectacular. Is it? We'll just start playing some Ravi Shankar tune. We can have belly dancing. Who knows? Who knows? People have to subscribe to get us that far.
I was going to ask the exact same question. It's hard to even know what to do with the two of you. These are so, they're so nerdy, so dorky. But maybe I found my people, because one of my favorite Christmas memories is when I was about 11 or 12. I asked for a unicycle for Christmas. My parents got me a unicycle. I taught myself how to ride it. I then taught my sisters how to ride it, and we would ride in parades, ride our unicycles in parades, calling ourselves the 3 one-wheelers, because who can resist a bad pun such as that? Yes, I see your face, Michael. I can see that. Listen, it was a great time. It was a great time, my childhood.
So Liz, did you have the short unicycles, or the tall ones, or both?
The short one. So it's probably about 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet. So you're pretty much off the ground, but it wasn't the giraffe unicycles. I did, to be fair, I did ask for one of those, but that was a bridge too far, even for my mom to, put me up 20 feet on one wheel. So just the regular one. I could ride backwards though. That was kind of my trick that I liked to do.
Nice.
The last time I went to my parents, I did think about trying it again, but that was a little bit postpartum, I thought maybe I shouldn't get up on the top of that and try a trick that I'd learned 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm feeling really lame. Before I was feeling like historically ignorant. Now I'm feeling untalented as well, because we're going to have a subsequent episode where Michael's playing the sitar, you're riding a unicycle, and I'm sitting here threatening to sue people. Like,
Senator, while you were wasting all of that time at Harvard Law School learning constitutional law, you could have been doing something productive, like learning an ancient Indian guitar or riding the unicycle. I mean, these are the regrets that people have in their lives.
Indeed. Misspent youth.
This question, by the way, was asked by Real Truth Cactus, and I want to give credit where credit due. Our next giveaway, our next Christmas gift was Real Truth Cactus's idea. So we can thank her for this. And this is really funny. So if we get to 50,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts by our anniversary date, the date of the inaugural episode, January 21st, 50,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts, we will let the fans pick what we do next year. Now, these are the options. Are you ready for these options? Real Truth Cactus just hit the nail on the head with this one. The senator wears a Braves jersey for an entire episode. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is the senator and Michael arm wrestle. Option 3 is the cactus makes a guest appearance on the show, right here on the pod. Or 4, Michael roasts Princeton and the senator roasts Yale in a throwdown episode. If we get to 50,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts by January 21st, people, I beg of you. I mean, as you can see, this would be a very enjoyable episode for me and for you, if not for Michael and the senator. Let's do this. Please, let's do this.
Well, I will say on the 4th one of roasting Yale versus Princeton, I kind of feel like taking candy from a baby. That's not really fair. It is a horribly skewed playing field.
Senator, I would have to resist that. I would have to fight you on that question, except that a few years ago, there was a case of a Yale student screaming at the top of her lungs that Yale is not an intellectual place. It is a place of comfort and home. and the university sided with her. So I hope it's not number 4. It's going to be an uphill battle.
So, Michael, when you say fight, did you mean arm wrestle?
Well, that might be an uphill battle too.
I'm, I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out. You've got youth, but I may have a few pounds on you, Michael. So we'll see how that how that shakes out. I will say on the first suggestion of the Braves jersey, oddly enough, bizarrely enough, I have worn a Braves jersey precisely once in my life. So almost 51 years of life, I've worn a Braves jersey once. And the day on which I wore the Braves jersey was today. So in the World Series, I had a wager with John Ossoff, newly elected senator from Georgia, on the World Series. I actually went and proposed it to John when the World Series started, said, look, let's have a wager. The loser has to buy food for the staff of the other and wear the jersey of the winning team. And I pointed out that I had done the same thing with Kamala Harris, and she had to show up in an Astros jersey, which was awesome. And then I did the same thing with Tim Kaine when the Nationals beat the Astros, and I had to painfully don a Nationals jersey. And it's very funny. Ossoff was fine with the food, but he was really nervous. He's like, well, if I wear an Astros jersey, that could like cost me several points at the polls.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's a plus too. But I was like, come on, man. Like, Kamala did it, So I will say I did it today. But I did it under protest.
Mm-hmm. You might have been following the letter of the law, Senator, but that seems to violate the spirit of the law if you're wearing the Astros hat.
So I didn't actually wear the Astros hat. I just wore the jersey, but I brought in Kreitz's barbecue. I flew in barbecue from Texas all the way up here and fed all of the Ossoff staffers and wore the jersey. So if that wins the thing, I might have to wear this hat too. But I did wear a jersey today to pay up on my wager.
A man of his word.
And this kind of coincidence you can't design, because I did not even come into this episode knowing that fact, and nor did Real Truth Cactus, to my knowledge. By the way, just to remind everyone how the mechanics of this work, go over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, write a comment telling us, of course, how glorious the show is. Get us up to 50,000 views. And then once this happens, go over to Verdict Plus, that's verdictwithtedcruz.com/plus, and vote in the poll to see exactly what you would like to see happen. Would you like to see the senator in a Braves jersey? Would you like to see an arm wrestling match between Michael and the senator? Would you like the Cactus to make a guest appearance on the show? Or would you like a mutual roast, Michael roasting Princeton and the senator roasting Yale? Those are the options. This seems like a pretty good Christmas episode, Michael.
So Liz, let me jump in on two things. Number one, okay, so the goal is to get to 50,000 reviews on Apple Podcasts, and it's the same thing because it's part of their magical algorithm or algae rhythm, as they said in the terrible remake of Space Jam. So we got to get to 50,000 by January 21st. Where are we now? Are we close?
We can do it. Let's say that. It's doable. We can do it if we commit. We're at about 35,000 over the course of the last almost 2 years. But listen, with this kind of incentive, we can get this done. I for one, really, really want to see an arm wrestling match. So I highly encourage everyone who's watching and listening to this episode, please go rate. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Please write a comment. Please then choose. And this is my bias. I know that I'm creating bias in this poll. Please choose the arm wrestling match.
Oh, and by the way, Liz, I will say on Verdict Plus, if you're disagreeable and contrary and you don't like any of the 4 choices, provide a 5th. We're spontaneous. We're flexible. If you've got an idea that you think is a better one than that, throw it out there, and if a bunch of folks on Verdict Plus like it, and if it does not entail Michael in the nude, then we'll consider it.
And thank you, Sen. I appreciate that. I was actually going to suggest it. I don't, listen, I'm a free spirit. I'm hip. I'm cool. But yes, please, everyone submit your suggestions. It's funny. It occurs to me that we began the show today with me complaining about how we have too many ads. And now we've had a bunch of ads. But they're not ads for anything other really than offering a bunch of free stuff as a note of gratitude to all of you. Seriously, we're so grateful to all of the listeners who have been with us for 100 episodes. We really, really appreciate it. We wish everyone a very Merry Christmas from me, from Liz, from Senator Cruz, most importantly, from the Cactus. So really, thank you all. We will see you next time. I'm Michael Knowles. This is Verdict with Ted Cruz.
So I tried to get the great and powerful Jay Hay to draw a cactus on the vestiboard for this little bit that we're doing, but he could not produce. So let me just tell you, we have a 20% off sale on the Verdict merch store right now. You can get one of those sweet, sweet cactus hats. I would put one on for you to model it, but I'm a little vain of my hair today. I think I'm having a pretty good hair day, so I didn't want to mess it up. But go over to verdictwithtedcruz.com/shop, and if you use the promo code Santa, then you will get 20% off the entire shop. Between now and Christmas, 20% off. That's a really good deal. We have t-shirts, we have cactus merch, we have hats, we have all kinds of cool stuff over there. Between now and Christmas, you get the great deal, 20% off. If you use the promo code Santa, then I don't know. In the meantime, maybe the great and powerful Jay Hay will figure out how to put a t-shirt or a cactus on the vestiboard. But while he's figuring that out, I invite you, join us, verdictwithtedcruz.com/shop. to buy really cool merch. You get 20% off if you use the promo code Santa at checkout. That's actually pretty good.
This episode of Verdict with Ted Cruz is being brought to you by Jobs, Freedom, and Security PAC, a political action committee dedicated to supporting conservative causes, organizations, and candidates across the country. In 2022, Jobs, Freedom, and Security PAC plans to donate to conservative candidates running for Congress and help the Republican Party across the nation.
If you like this video, you should click the like button, and then you should subscribe, and you should ring the bell, and you will never miss another video.